I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
There he is, Bill, bringing us in. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. Welcome in, kiddos. Wednesday, April 16th. Thank you for checking in on the Daily Puck Drop. Coming up on the show today, abbreviated show just like we did the first 2 days of the week. And a reminder, off tomorrow and Friday as we get to finally enjoy a spring break. So a short show today. We'll be done at 11 o'clock. Because I got to pick up the vampire again for baseball camp. When you're a single father, this is the things you got to do. The wife and the teenager coming back from the East Coast, in which for some reason they decided to spend the first part of spring break visiting colleges on the East Coast. And I'm like, why wouldn't you visit it if you want to go to a college on the West Coast, like somewhere in California? Why don't you go down there? East Coast, not good right now. Weather. Go to the West Coast. Anyways, went there. She loved it, some of the schools out there, and I'm hoping that she doesn't like. I was really hoping she didn't like any of them because I don't want to go to the East Coast. And I'm going to tell you right now, in 2 years, when she has to go to college, this guy right here is going to be a wreck. If we're still doing this show, and, fingers crossed we are. When my daughter graduates and goes off to college, and we do that show the day she goes to college, you want to see what a male looks like broken down. That's going to be the show for you. So you'll want to tune into that one in a few years from now. All right, coming up on the show, we'll talk to Ryan Divish here in a few moments. Caught up with Divish earlier today. We are going to play the whole thing. Usually we play a portion of it, and then we give the full show to the Puck's Posse members. But we're just going to play the entire thing today. It's an abbreviated one. It's only like 25 minutes. It's a good one because Divish tried to do a little – for some reason, he was trying to do a master's voice whispering. He is in Havre, Montana, as you know. He is coaching his stepson's the Havre North Stars Legion baseball team. Okay, so he's taking a leave from the paper for a while. On the side, though, when he's not coaching, he works at his buddy's furniture store, Valley Furniture in Havre, Montana, a proud longtime sponsor of Puck Sports. And can you just close your eyes? Let's all do it together right now. If you're driving, listening on the Puck Sports mobile app, by the way, Jeff, I know you were asking about it yesterday. Jeff's one of our loyal viewers on YouTube. You can listen to this show, the Daily Puck Drop, live on your phone, and you can listen to it and then go to different apps, all right, at the same time. If you have an iPhone, Apple's download it from the iOS store, Android phone, Google Play, all right? Take it. This is on the move, on the go, all right? And you can Apple CarPlay as well. If you're listening live, close your eyes for a second. Can you imagine Ryan Divish selling furniture? I cannot. And what I want, and I'm going to reach out to his buddy, I want him to videotape one time. Like I want a GoPro on Divish. And I want to see what his sales pitch is to these people walking in. Yeah, I'd get a bed. What do you recommend? I don't know. What do you like? Well, just what do you think is the best fit? I don't know, man. Just pick a fucking bed. That's what I envision the sales pitch being there. From Divish. So we'll talk to Divish here momentarily. Rob Staton will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll get to that. We'll talk about Ben Williamson's debut a little bit when we come back. Kraken fans, we're going to touch in on a piece that Tim Booth did at the Seattle Times today. In addition, everybody did the same story because Todd Lewicki talked to everyone. But I'm going to give credit to Tim because I liked him. And that will tie into Hey, What the Puck. We'll get to that. Again, just a reminder, short show today, done 11. No show tomorrow, no show Friday. Back full slate of shows next week, ramping up to the NFL draft. Reminder, Dane Brugler, if you want to be a Puck's Posse member, and you're like, oh, I want the best. He's one of the best in the business. And he's the author of The Beast, which is this massive interactive draft guide that you can get at The Athletic. You can download The Beast, the PDF file. I don't know how many millions of pages it is. It is really, truly the most and best in-depth guide that you can look at leading up to the NFL draft. If you don't have an athletic subscription, get one today. If you want to listen to Dan go through all 32 picks, he makes a pick for every team on the latest episode, our NFL Draft Countdown show, which is brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, by the way, and their new Tavern Beer. Go check it out. There's a thumbs up on the video. Go check it out. And again, it's only $5 a month. That QR code on your screen, if you're streaming the show on YouTube and Twitter, will take you right there to sign up. All right, let's before we get to Divish, we of course are always broadcasting from the Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors, free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give Limback Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them at limbacklumber.com. Just to put a bow on the NFL draft coverage, so we got Dane Brugler. There's a 4-part series leading up to that. Discussing the draft. Rob Staton's been a rock star. We'll have Rob on here at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk to Rob again next week, trying to convince Rob to be part of our Info Draft show on Thursday night as well. He's going to do his own live show in addition to that. Danny Kelly from yesterday at The Athletic. We did a top 10 mock draft if you're into those things, and also his thoughts on what Seattle should do there at 18. All right. So that's what we got started up there on the show for you today. Yeah, Antonio, he checks in. This is, I think, what Divish's sales pitch would be at the Valley Furniture Store in Havre, Montana. You're the one who drove here. Might as well buy something. That's perfect. I'm telling you, that is perfect. That's exactly, I think, is how he would sell it. Let's get to it. Caught up with him earlier today, as we always do, record in the morning. Ryan Divish, reaction to the Mariners' 8-9 start to the season. Talk a lot about Luis Castillo in the very beginning. Are there concerns about Castillo? Little concerns. Bryce Miller, I think there are more than little concerns with Bryce Miller that we discussed today as well. Also, the debut of Ben Williamson. How about Dan Wilson and his handling of the bullpen, Gregory Santos, and his sales pitch of selling furniture at Valley Furniture in Havre, Montana. Enjoy. Well, it's a joy every week. We get to talk baseball with our MLB Insider. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Divish, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. They have been family-owned and operated for 40 years, delivering top-notch customer service and a unique 12-lane experience. Check them out at chaletbowl.com. All right, before we get to the Mariners, let's get an update on the Havre North Stars. Where are we at? Are we through tryouts? And we've got the team formed.
Yeah, we got tryouts. The team's formed. I mean, they were pretty much, tryouts were more just to kind of determine how many kids we're going to have out for both teams. We have 2 teams in the program. And so they're just trying to dictate who's all going to be out and go from there. But like the A team or the older kids team, we pretty much knew because we've been having workouts for quite a while now.
Okay. And we got when do we got our first game?
April 27th, supposedly, is when we're supposed to have the first game.
Supposedly. Are you working at your buddy's furniture store today?
Yeah, you can hear the doorbell. I was supposed to work yesterday, but there was track meet yesterday, so I was watching track, and so today I'm helping out.
Okay, so we're taking you away from your buddy's job. Do you have to, does he dock this from your pay?
No, not really. I mean, we have other people working today, too, so I can just kind of do this. I'm not very good at this. Let's be honest.
I bet. Can we get you in action? Is there a way that we could actually, see you trying to sell furniture to somebody?
No, and
pay much money.
My buddy Ryan's trying to get me to do another commercial like we did with that Dumb and Dumber commercial, and I'm just like, no.
That was good though. That was a good commercial.
Yeah. He wants to do the Chris Farley where he lights the Tommy Boy thing where they're talking to the guy and he lights the toy on fire and everything like that.
Yeah,
and the David Spade character just looking exasperated.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I don't know. We'll see.
You're gonna start having to get royalties on all this acting that you're doing.
Yeah,
because you're natural at it, a natural grump.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll get my SAG card, my Screen Actors Guild card. And...
Let me ask you. They lose last night as we record this here on a Wednesday, Tuesday. They lose the opener to the Reds. I want to start with Castillo for a second. Does he seem a little off to you this year at all?
I would say off. I still just think, hasn't had a great feel for some of his off-speed pitches at times, and I think that's the big difference. And part of it was too, like he went away from his changeup for quite a while, and then he's trying to bring it back. And I think, just the location. I think maybe in the past he was able to get away with more mistakes. But you look at that, and you look at last night though, that home run is a home run in one park,
right?
That park. I mean, that park is kind of a joke as it is. And so, give up the one homer. I mean, if that's caught, you're playing in T-Mobile, you're playing somewhere else, and that's caught, they probably win that game. I felt like probably the bigger issue other than Castillo was that, you get the 4, you didn't add. You had some guys on the ropes you didn't add.
Mm-hmm.
They had, Cal was up with bases loaded. They had a ton of opportunities where they really probably should have scored 6-7 runs, and they didn't do that. Castillo is Castillo. I don't think he's going to be the dominant guy that he was maybe 2 years ago.
So
maybe
do you see
maybe there's another gear there?
Yeah.
But I mean, the velo's down like 1 mile per hour. I think
it feels like it. Yeah. I mean, I think it shows that too, but it just doesn't. It doesn't quite look the same. And listen, what is he? 33?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it happens. I mean, that happens to people. I don't know.
I mean, like
he doesn't look like the same guy.
Sometimes a velo, everybody makes a big deal about the velo, but it's also the spin rate, the movement profile. I just don't think he's locating as well. We saw in the 1 start preview, or I think it was 2 starts ago, where he locates a little bit better and he stays on the edges.
Yeah.
But what happens is his ball has a lot of natural movement, and I don't think he always understands how much it's going to move.
He doesn't know where it's going, does he?
I mean, well, like he does, but like you look at how that they showed that one sinker he threw in San Francisco where it just had so much movement, where it starts in the middle of the plate and almost hits the guy in the back of the knee. Like, you don't know how you can really. Sometimes you just don't really know what it's going to do. And I think that's part of it, and I think too, he fell behind a little bit last night because he didn't get some calls, and maybe a little amped up pitching in Cincinnati again as well. So I in the list of problems that the Mariners have, I don't think Luis Castillo ranks really high.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering. Well, we'll save that for later as we get to the deadline, because I do still wonder if there's any chance that they would ever contemplate moving him at all.
We still got the no trade clause through this season.
Oh, it goes all the way through this season. It's the off season they can move him without.
Once the season's over, they can move.
Okay. And I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, he amped up. He's playing there. It was, funny when you look back at that trade. I did that yesterday. I mean, just what a. You want trades. Both teams want to work out. You want to benefit from the trade, but clearly Seattle's benefited a hell of a lot more than the Reds. I mean, the day that he makes his start, they send Marte back down. And it just you look at that trade, it just completely worked out there in Seattle's favor. We don't give enough praise to them sometimes, and I get that, but certainly with that trade, that benefited them more than it benefited the other
trade that worked out. I mean, they looked at the pieces that they gave up, and they realized that these didn't fit, or Jerry can be criticized for a lot of his trades and things he's done wrong, but they've also walked away from prospects that they thought cooked. And remember Luis Gohara, Alex, what's that guy's name? Alex.
Jackson.
Alex Jackson. They walked away from some of these guys when they knew they were done. And sometimes that's a big part of the process is realizing to self-scout players that just don't fit or aren't what you think they're supposed to be, and you move on from them and try to capitalize when they're on the highest. I mean, there are players like that currently in this number one farm system that have flaws that they know internally and that they'll probably move on from at some point and try to package in a deal when they have the highest value.
Hey, speaking of velocity, and something that has, I think, early on in the season probably has been a concern has been Bryce Miller. Mm-hmm. Bryce Miller's 0-2. He's got an ERA of 4.50. But that doesn't concern me as much as the way that he's talking after games about this soreness in his arm. Now, I get it. Every one of these guys has soreness. They're pitchers. Everybody deals with it. But it is a combination of him talking about it. He's not particularly pitched all that well, not terrible. His velocity is down. Is this something that we need to keep an eye on and be mindful of, that the organization does too, with him moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. He went through it a little bit, I think, his first year, and just, at times just don't feel good. Like just it's what Scott Service call it soggy, but kind of dead arm. It feels fatigued. It's sore. It doesn't bounce back as quickly. But like if they thought it was structural to the point where it's ligament or something like that, then he'd be shut down. They're not going to pitch it. So I think that's like muscular soreness or whatever. That bicep gets sore sometimes. Part of it was too is, and I think there was some talk about it during spring, that he came out, he was pumping 98 during spring during bullpens, came out a little hot, and didn't build up maybe the way they wanted. I don't know, but it's a concern because he's talked about it before, how hittable he is at 94 versus how much he stays off the barrel at 95 and above. And so I think that's part of it as well. They'll find a way to get his arm strength back, whether it's, sometimes it's throwing more to keep your arm active instead of just not throwing. And sometimes it's, giving him a rest. But that's why I think the big thing is just days at a time in between. They're going to try and get that extra day whenever they can for him, because I think that's important.
But that red flag that happened this early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, but
after coming after spring and an off season and all that.
Wu had it last year. He had the forearm soreness or inflammation. You get it forearm, shoulder. I think part of it is these guys are working on massive. These guys are extending their overall workloads every season, and I think sometimes they think it's going to bounce back, or they're going to do exactly what they did the year before, but it's not the same because of how much he threw. Wu dealt with it. Kirby, we're seeing, is dealing with it. Like, these guys are pushing their overall workload to limits, to places they've never been before, and there are going to be consequences. They're not massive and they're not season ending, but you have to be aware of what you've done. And I think the Mariners have been relatively smart with that. To me, my biggest thing, we were talking about this last night, because I saw some people say, "Oh, then you call up Logan Evans and do this for this next start." They shouldn't have been like playing AAA musical chairs with this starter. They should have just kept Emerson Hancock in the rotation and then sent Taylor Saucedo down, which they ultimately did anyways, and used his spot in the bullpen to cycle through all those quad A guys. I feel like Luis F. Castillo, and I joke with somebody, the F stands for effing mid-level, shouldn't have been starting multiple games for them.
But why do you think they did that? We talked a lot about that. Jim and I were discussing when they made the move, and Jim was like, I just don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing. It's one start. I mean, this is a guy that they've talked about for years about could be a fifth starter in everyone's rotation. He had one bad outing, and it's like they saw that one bad outing, like, no, we're done. We're throwing him away. Let's bring up somebody who, I can't remember what was when he pitched. Was that, how many years had it been? I can't even remember with Luis F. Castillo.
He's never been in the big leagues, had he?
Right? Yeah, had he never made a big league start? And I just was a head scratcher to me for an organization that prides itself on their starting pitching and having all this background and knowledge of these guys, to give him one start and then pull the plug on it seemed odd.
Well, I knew all the reasons why they needed to make a move after his outing. They needed to bring up a guy with length or whatever. But they and I thought, they brought up a lefty. They brought up Diaz because they were facing the Tigers, had a bunch of lefty bats pounding them. But I just felt like, changing your rotation and upsetting that dynamic, and then the moves you had to make to piece it all together. What is the highest upside of Luis F. Castillo versus the highest upside of Emerson Hancock in any given start? I just felt like it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe they had some information we didn't, right? Everything I knew was just basically they needed a fresh arm. They needed help. They wanted a lefty. They wanted to have the three lefties because of the situational aspect with the Tigers. But I just didn't think it was necessary. I thought, you could have sent down Saucedo, which they ultimately did, brought up, the numerous guys, and just keep cycling that bullpen spot out for whoever. And part of it was too is like, some of their bullpen guys don't have options, but that's something you have to take into account. And I just felt like that was kind of a weird move because it's put them, on the back burner a little bit, not the back burner, but just put them like scrambling mode all the time.
Trying to figure out what to do. And then does it not, I mean, maybe people don't care about his confidence. Now do you F around with his confidence? You F around with Emerson Hancock, a guy that you've probably told multiple times just how valuable you are to our team. I think about it. What was what was the line right after Kirby got hurt? It was, it was two things. One, this is why you don't trade Luis Castillo. And two was, well, this is why you have the depth with Emerson Hancock.
Yeah, I mean, like if he's good enough to be in your starting rotation on opening day and make a start, then you should probably get, like I said, I'm sorry, but there's no one batting outing or not. Like just shuffling the bullpen would have made more sense because you had multiple guys with options down there and you have more relievers than you do starters. And a starter has a pretty big effect. So I just felt like it was kind of a little odd. But, maybe there was information that they didn't share. I mean, that's one thing is
that's fair. That is fair.
Well, and that's one thing is like we don't, and I mean, for fans, it probably doesn't matter. I know that in talking with some of the writers and stuff, and even noticing it in spring, it's just Scott would tend to share his process and their thinking and all of this and what they really were trying to do or accomplish, but they were like, they had to change it all up. So, like Dan doesn't share. He doesn't share information. And then even like the information about Polanco, where he was out for a few days and they said it was his knee. And then they asked if it was his knee. He said, yeah, but really it was his side. That's a problem because nobody wants to be wrong. Yeah.
No, I get it. A sidebar. Have you sold anything at the furniture store? Again, audience, he's working at his buddy's furniture store in Havre, Montana. Have you sold anything?
Yeah, I've sold lots of stuff. Just
you
not
have?
Recently. Yeah.
What's the last thing you've sold? What piece of furniture?
I sold my dad a couch and a love seat. That
doesn't count. Your family member doesn't count. What have you sold a stranger?
Oh, I don't know. I sold the king size bed the other few days ago.
What's your pitch on the king size bed?
There's lots of room between you and your wife.
That's gonna be the title of the show. There's lots of room between you and your wife. I'd love to see you get up right now. Do you need to go? Do you need to go make a sale? Okay.
No, because I don't know how to do the one guy is like doing measurements and stuff. Like I don't know how to do that. Like I pretty much just stand here and look stupid all the time. You're probably an A-list celebrity there. I've had to talk more about this decision to coach in the last 3 weeks. I mean, I had the TV up there one day. I had another story.
TV? Wait, does Havre have their own TV station?
No, it was Great Falls. I'm sure you can find it on the internet.
I'll find it. Oh, I will find it. You know what? I'm not going to play. I'm not going to do it because you don't want it to be played. You want it to be buried. I won't do it for you.
Well, what's funny is so the station that did it. You remember Lindsay Theory?
Sure.
She was back at that Great Falls station and she wanted to come out and visit home, and rent one for a weekend, but she wanted to get paid for it. So she did a story on me and Alex Akita and those guys had to hate.
Wait a minute. So she did the story on why you've decided to take.
No, back in the day, she did a story on me, kid from Havre going to cover the Mariners.
From Havre to heaven, wasn't it?
Yes. Now it's like from heaven to Havre. Like that was there. So.
It's good. Listen, you know how I feel about your decision. It's a great decision. All right. Let's see. We've covered Castillo. We've covered Bryce Miller.
You want to talk about Williamson?
Yes, but hold off on Williamson for a second because there's a lot to unpack with Ben Williamson, and I'm going to go someplace that you're like, you have no idea where I'm going to go with him. Dan Wilson last night. He's starting to get some criticism with the bullpen. I can see it, and again, I don't think it's as bad as people like to make it out to be. I do, though, wonder. I'm curious about just one decision last night. Santos it's been a weird season for Gregory Santos. A guy that throws that hard and is powerful has 0 strikeouts, which is odd. What do you think his decision was? He had Vargas warming up when he thought he was going to pull him, when he thought he was going to pull Castillo. He decides not to use Vargas there. He ends up going with Snyder, I believe, and then eventually goes to Santos. Vargas has been an unbelievable welcome surprise here. It's a 2-run ball game. Why not go to him there? Or is it because, hey, we got him up, we don't want to get him up again? I guess I'm curious the decision to go with Santos. And as a manager, and you're going to have to do with this with the Havre North Stars, you have a pretty good sense right away. He does not have it. He could not throw his slider. It was all over the place. But yet he kept him in there. And he kept him in there, and he kept him in there. And then
3-batter minimum.
Well, that's right. You know what? I always fucking forget about the 3-batter minimum. It always fucking forget that goddamn rule. And it gets me every time.
Santos to start grabbing at his arm.
It gets me every time when I'm like, pull him from the game. I always fucking forget that. But you see where he doesn't have it, but it hasn't been sharp this year. The decision to put him in that situation, what do you think the thought process was?
I thought it was curious because in that situation, you just need somebody that throws strikes.
Yeah.
You're not looking for, you just need strikes. And I mean, like, they were coming off the off day. So it wasn't like, Vargas is, tired. I mean, they don't love getting him up twice, but at the same time, they talked about wanting to win every game, and it's a battle every night. So I think that's, you get, I wouldn't say hypnotized, but you see all the reasons why Santos should be good. But part of the reason is he's got those strikes. He doesn't throw strikes. He doesn't know where it's going. He really doesn't have a clue where it's going. And he can't spot a slider at all, so he can't get a swing. He has no strikeouts on the season.
I know, that's what it's amazing to me. I mean, it's just odd. I've never when you look at his stuff, and I know they were saying on the broadcast last night, most of his stuff comes from his slider, but it's just like, I don't mean to have this many appearances already, not have a single strikeout. I don't know. Last night he just did not look confident at all, and it was just a hard watch. It really was. It's just not fun for anyone. All right, that's the negative. God, you know what? I'm gonna write it down on my palm of my hand. I always forget the 3-batter minimum every time.
But I mean, you remember how much people beat up Scott on his bullpen decision making and everything else?
Yeah.
I think he did it pretty logically and empirically. Compared to I think Dan sometimes goes with gut more data.
All right,
what people want more.
Okay, it's not the master. Stop whispering in there. You have a lot of people. A lot of people inside there. Stop it. Ben Williamson. First of all, I mean those. I'm not going to go there. Never mind. The first hit, it was great. It was awesome.
His family was awesome.
Oh my God, the family, the buddies, everything there. It's not just the hit though, Divish. It's the other 2 at bats.
Yeah.
Were great. Those were great at bats that he had. I think he went, 7 or 8 pitches in each one? They were just good ABs. So I don't know. That was pretty awesome for him, especially on that day too.
Bradham was the cooler though. They bring in, gets a hit, and then they put Brad out there and he cools it off.
Yeah. It was really cool though. It was cool to watch. What did you make of that decision to bring him up? Did you expect this to happen?
I just think it shows physically where Polanco's at. And that he's just not, and I think they also kind of looked around and said, we're giving runs away defensively.
Yeah.
And so maybe you need this. I mean, Polanco's DHing more and more. And I think they look at, you've seen how good Rivas is defensively. All of a sudden, okay, we can do some different stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
Put Dylan Moore at second base if we want or whatever. It gives them better defensive versatility. And I think, they've played so many close games up until the Texas series. Every game was decided by a save. It was 1 or 2 runs. They were giving away runs defensively. They need to clean it up. I mean, some of the throws, it's like the throws home. Castillo should have backed up better last night, but I don't think the throw home was necessary from Rose. I just didn't think it was a good play. They've had some of that. They've played pretty sloppy at times. Yeah. And it's not. Say what you want.
But that play in particular, you're right. I mean, I think Garver could have played it better, but Castillo's got to be there. I mean, but he was lazy getting behind the play.
Did he really have a play? I mean,
no, but no, you're right. But that doesn't.
90 feet. Did the 90 feet help you hit the cutoff?
But yes, but yeah, I agree with you. 100%. But it doesn't excuse not getting back there.
No, he was just kind of lollygagging.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see him. It's good to see his getting that first hit, Jackie Robinson Day, to score his first run. It's listen, if he doesn't have a lot of power, but yet he can contact the ball and hit it, fine, I'll take that. You know what? I know that position's a traditional power position, totally get it and all that, but you know what? Hitting the ball and making contact and getting on base is also a good thing too.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right. What are you going to sell today? What do you got on the docket?
We got some.
You got a lot of people in there, don't you?
They have a couch in here that's got a cooler built in.
Okay, let's put that. How much is that? Can I pay for that? Can I get a discount? And does this place ship?
We have no sales tax in Montana.
Okay, but can I get a discount?
Yeah, probably.
Can you ship it, or do I have to come pick it up?
I'll just put it in a truck, drive it out there sometime.
Okay, so I need something new for the basement. I need to get rid of our couch is too big for our basement. I need to get rid of it, and I need something smaller. So what's this couch that you have there? It's got a cooler built into the side of it?
Yeah, it's got all the magnetic charging for your phone and everything else. Got iPad holder.
Okay, this is perfect. Yeah, this is what
also,
I need.
what you need to do, though, honestly, that's cool, but you could just get a recliner. That way nobody can sit with you in the basement.
Well, that's what I want. That's what I want. See, we have a couch where two people have to sit too close together. I don't like that. I don't want that.
You just want something for you and the dogs.
Yes. God, yes. And I want my arcade game down there and a ping pong table, which I'm getting told I can't have, which is depressing. But that's what happens when you don't make the decisions in life. All right, there he is. It's our MLB Insider, Ryan Divish. What's the furniture place in Havre?
Valley Furniture.
Valley
Furniture.
Valley Furniture in Havre, Montana. Listen, when you're driving through Montana, let's pull off the road. Let's stop in Havre, Montana. Let's say hi to Ryan Divish. He'll be working in there at the Valley Furniture store.
Wednesdays and Thursdays.
And then head on over to the baseball field to go watch his Havre North Stars destroy the Great Fall Wildcats. Just making that up. What's Great Falls' team?
Chargers.
The Chargers. Who names the team the Chargers? That's not a baseball name, for God's sakes. Jesus, Great Falls. All right, MLB Insider Ryan Divish, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl. Again, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. Visit chaletbowl.com. All right, Dave, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Sounds good.
There he is, our weekly appearance there with Ryan Divish. And again, on Wednesdays, he's from the Valley Furniture Store. God, I love him. MLB Insider Divish, of course, taking a sabbatical from his job, and he's in Havre, Montana, again, coaching his stepson's baseball team, also doing some part-time work for his buddy's furniture store in Havre. God, I did love his line about selling a king-size mattress to a guy. The benefit of it is this, you got a lot of room between you and your wife. I mean, if you don't buy the bed, then I don't know why you wouldn't buy the bed. It's unbelievable. Big thanks to Chalet Bowl, Reggie Frederick, the whole Frederick clan there for giving you, not me, but you, the audience, Ryan Divish every single week. They are Washington's oldest operating bowling alley. They've been serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, delivering top-notch customer service and a unique 12-lane experience. Go check it out for yourself, chaletbowl.com. Book your next reservation. Experience the best in local fun. Now, Divish normally would be part of the Puck's Posse membership, the full show, but it's open to everyone today. It's still for you members. It's still up on the membership page, but that episode will the video will be up on YouTube. Just search Puck Sports, and then the audio will be on all podcast platforms, the full version of it. All right, we are a little over a week away from the start of the NFL draft. This man is chomping up the bit. He can't wait for the draft to get underway. I've never met anybody in my life who I think loves the NFL draft more than our next guest. He joins us weekly, talking Seahawks, talking NFL, talking NFL draft. Rob Staton, brought to you by Superior Linen Service, another company, family-owned. There's a theme here. Family-owned and operated since 1926, committed to delivering the highest quality products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. Give him a free quote today at suplinen.com. Give him a call, 253-383-2636. Follow Rob's work They're on Twitter at Rob Staton. Check out the YouTube page, Rob Staton Football, and, of course, everything up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. What was your first draft, Rob, that you covered?
The first one I covered for Seahawks Draft Blog was the 2009 draft. But I can remember ones before that, but that was the one that I first started having opinions on, writing about. I started the blog towards the end of 2008, and that 2009 one was the first one. That was when they drafted Aaron Curry with the 4th overall pick.
I just was going to go through if you could remember that 2009 draft class, which for the most part was an unmitigated disaster except for one player.
Max Unger.
Yeah, Max Unger in round 2.
If memory serves, though, the Denver Broncos gave the Seahawks an extra first-round pick the following year to trade up and get a cornerback who did absolutely nothing in the league. And they traded down Seattle to get that first-round pick, which ended up being Earl Thomas.
Oh.
And then they took Max Unger. So not only did they get – so it was a terrible draft, but Tim Ruskell's parting gift was that he drafted Max Unger and also – before drafting Unger, acquired the pick that led to Will Thomas. So,
well, there you go,
Tim.
Hey, Tim Ruskell at least leading John Schneider in drafting offensive linemen.
Well, do you know what else I remember about that draft is I really didn't want them. I mean, this is because he was awful. I really didn't want them to draft Aaron Curry. That was the fear. I actually really wanted them to draft Michael Crabtree, and he wasn't anything amazing.
I loved Michael Crabtree. He was great in college.
I wanted them to draft Crabtree. He had that great season for Texas Tech, and they beat Texas in that game. So, yeah, that's what I was hoping for. And when they drafted Curry, I just let out this huge, no. And I was in my parents' house because I don't think we just moved out somewhere, I think. And our internet didn't work. I had to watch it on my mother's computer. And I shouted no. And she came running in and said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And she thought I was in pain. And I was no, they've just drafted Aaron Curry. I didn't want them to do that. And then she was worried for me.
Is he still coaching, by the way?
Yeah, I think so. I think he moved. He
was with the Seahawks for a while, but then where did he go? Did he fall? I wonder if he's with Pete now in Vegas. You know what? Give me a second. Because now I'm intrigued. He was I'm telling you. There was no one better off the field talking to him. He was so great.
He's with the Jets.
Is he with the Jets? Yeah. He was so great. It's just it was a bummer that it didn't work out for him as a player because he had been a dream. He would have been an immense fan favorite here. He'd have been a Ring of Honor guy had he been great because he was just so effing likable. And he turned out, it happens, right? You had a lot of failures in the first round. You're going to see it again next week. I mean, a lot of guys are going to fail in the first round. And it's so hard. You looked at Aaron Curry and thought, oh yeah, look at all the measurables, look at how he plays and all this stuff. And you get enamored by it. But he was just such I'm talking in past tense, like he's gone or something. He's just a wonderful human being. It's just too bad that it didn't work out, but he's, I think by all accounts, has become a very good coach. All right. So for you next week, when does the last Rob Staton, or maybe it's the first, when does your mock draft come out? When's the final version going to come out?
I do it the night before because you have to do it the night before for the huddle report. You have the deadline of midnight and they will score you. And for a few years I was in the top 10, which was a real badge of honor. There was one year that I finished third.
Okay, time out. I don't know what that is.
So it's a scoring thing. It's basically
the huddle report is going to score what they think your draft is.
They score every single mock draft. So there is endless mock drafts in there, and all of the big names are in there as well. And I finished third a few years ago, and I was in the top 10 for a long time. But I've had a couple of mocks where I've done very well in the top 10, and then got no matches for the rest of the draft, and it's sent me down the table a bit. So here's to a bounce back year. So I have to send that on Wednesday. So that'll be the final mock draft. But I'm doing too many mocks at the moment, just because it's an easy way to sort of run through scenarios and sort of create talking points. Sometimes it's easier just to throw a mock together than it is to say, well, what about this if this happens? Because then you have to explain everything anyway. So I have done quite a few mocks recently.
Okay. So when you're in the, do you get something for it? Do you get like a coin, a
No.
plaque?
Just the respect of the internet.
And listen, the internet, and specifically Twitter, was created for validation.
Well, of course. And created that if you are no longer in the top 10, they will give you a load of SHIT. So there you go.
Okay, so where do you think? Let's just start with Seattle. Let's just go right there right now. What is your gut telling you at 18?
Well, I think the Seahawks probably very happy about this. It feels, I don't remember covering a draft where there was as many possibilities for Seattle. Like you kind of feel as if in the past you had a reasonable idea of what they might do, but it genuinely, I would not be surprised. I had a chat with Tony Pauline yesterday, and he said that from who he's spoken to, he thinks that it will be a lineman one way or another, an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. But a lot of people think it's going to be a receiver. You've got safeties like Malachi Starks. You've got cornerbacks like Will Johnson. You've got, a wide array of players who it could be. And I just think it's wide open. So I'd have to give you sort of 5 names because I don't think there's one.
But I think that's completely fair because you and I, we've discussed this so much that there's just gonna, and I do believe them. I do believe all these teams that they're just gonna take the best player that's available for them. And as you just pointed out, like the way this thing breaks, and who knows what happens, that there could be a plethora of guys there. Maybe they didn't have their eyes set on necessarily on a wide receiver, but if there's I'm spitballing here. Let's say McMillan is there, and they're like, listen, this guy is too good to pass up. And I'm not saying, I'm just hypothetical.
Yeah.
I just think that they may say, well, we can't pass on this guy. Or maybe that's the linebacker, or it's another defensive lineman. Because I know I'm set on one position and one position only. That's me, and that's offensive line.
I'll give you the names I think today, and obviously, we're 8 days away. It can change. These are the names that I would list right now that I think are the main players for that pick. I think Malachi Starks, the safety at Georgia, Emeka Ibuka, the wide receiver at Ohio State, Matthew Golden, the wide receiver at Texas, Gray Zabel, who will be an interior lineman from North Dakota State, and I think there's, and maybe Donovan Ezeraku, the pass rusher. I think they're the names that I would focus on the most. But I would also say wild card, Elijah Arroyo, someone that blows everybody's mind because they've taken him earlier than expected. But I do think there are people who believe he could be a first rounder. It's going to come down to the medicals. Another wild card, potentially them trading up to try and if Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland are in range, I would imagine that they may just make a call to see if they can get one of those two. So, I've nearly gone through the whole first round now. And then
let me jump in real quick. Can I just jump in real quick? The Tyler Warren, God, he is a fascinating. You can't take your eyes off him when you watch him. Just everything. Like I was just trying to think. We always do this comp game, right? Like what is it? What does he remind you of? Like who does he remind you of?
It reminds me, I think you could use him in a similar way to Travis Kelce. Doesn't mean he's going to be Travis Kelce because very few players are. But I think that ability to play him in different positions, that he will just make the most incredible grabs. I think you can look for him. You can set your formations. One of the things that Kyle Shanahan's systems tend to do is sort of isolate the players they want to get the ball and then sort of create mismatch opportunities for them. I can imagine that you could feed him the ball a lot, which is what Penn State did. He is, people I think are a bit, he hasn't done any testing. So people are, but he's only going to be a 4.7, 4.8 runner. But I just encourage everybody to go and watch this guy play basketball. I mean, he is an unbelievable athlete. So A+ character, I just feel as if he can be a focal point for you on an offense. And I think he and Loveland are two of the best players in the draft. And there's all sorts of stuff out there. If you'd have said 3 days ago, what do you think the Jets are going to do? I'd have said, Membu. But then, Todd McShay's saying that Membu, there's a little bit of some character things there. And then you think, okay, well, the Jets are going to go with Tyler Warren instead. And then, what happens to Colson Loveland? Does he then go to the Bears at 10 rather than last into the Colts?
You know who comes up with the character stuff? You know who floats that? The Jets. The Jets float that so people don't take. You know what I mean? It's just these people. There's so much lying going on right now to try and fool people.
I would suggest that one of Todd McShay's best friends, I think they went to college together, was Joe Douglas, who was the Jets GM last year. He was fired. So I suspect that carrying water for the Jets is probably not in his modus operandi at the minute. But that is there is sometimes that kind of thing going on. The people who generally speak about that kind of things have not said anything about him, but we will see. I know there are some people who kind of feel that Membu's more of a 10 to 20 type than a top 10. And that was, before he tested, a lot of people thought maybe later first round. So, it's not that unbelievable. But I think the point is there's a lot of options there.
Mm-hmm.
I keep coming back to this thought that has developed over the last week or so, is that they've got 10 picks, but do the Seahawks need 10 players added to the roster, or do they need an injection of serious quality? Is it about getting quality over quantity this year? Do they need to go and get a player? And if that means moving up from 18 to go and get somebody to say, this is the player that's going to take us to the next level potentially, they should consider doing it. If it's round 2 where, okay, we can get this player at 35 instead of 50, let's go up and get him. I think they should do it. And I'm happy to use those third round picks to do that. I think this team, it's go time now. They've had a lot of picks in 22, a lot of picks in 23. Just another big haul of picks, but staying in this kind of 10-win, 9-win zone, it ain't going to push them on. I think being aggressive now to go and get somebody might not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating draft, I think, for him, for Schneider and the crew. I think it's got the potential. I don't know what you think, to me, be very different than he's ever drafted before. And maybe I don't know if that means he's going to take some more chances, what you were alluding to. I don't know. Just I don't necessarily know if he's feeling more pressure than he has before, but I do believe there's some of that. I think anybody does. Coming off a season in which, your goal was to make the playoffs. I wouldn't say they had a terrible season. I mean, listen, they were 10-7, right? I always get screwed up with the schedule. They're 10-7. They miss out on the playoffs. A first year, good for a first year head coach. A lot of change though, but with a lot of change comes the pressure, I think, for John Schneider to deliver to ownership and really to the fans. I don't think he's on any thin ice with the ownership. I think it's more of us and more of the media and the fans that are putting the pressure on him. I don't think personally that's coming from the ownership, but I do think he puts pressure on himself like everyone does. So I think that there's got to be some validation of what they decided a year ago, that it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, to be fair, I already think they've got that, because the Seahawks defense is massively improved. And I think the offense was obviously a disaster last year, but they seem to have rectified that with the coaching changes. And now it's about having a good draft to sort of finalize those plans and that shift on offense to become something that's more akin to what Mike McDonald wants to do. And I think they will get there. I think, the interesting thing for me is to look at what they haven't done. And I know we've gone over this a lot. They haven't done anything at left guard. Sometimes I think you can overthink these things. When I spoke to Tony, who I have a lot of respect for yesterday, he was saying that he thinks the pick's going to be Gray's able. And, if he's right in a week's time, you could look back and go, well, of course, they didn't sign a left guard, and perhaps they knew all along, whether it was going to be Tyler Booker, whether it was going to be Gray's able. I know Mike Mayock said he mocked Tyler Booker to Seattle yesterday. So, it could just end up being that, and they plugged that guy in, and you go, well, of course, because, they had a void there. Maybe they always felt like they were going to be able to draft a left guard there. I mean, Will Fries was a right guard anyway. So it could easily be something like that. Or maybe they see that left guard in round 2. Maybe they have always planned that player is going to be there for them in round 2. So there's that aspect of it. What else haven't they done? Well, they've not replaced Jonathan Hankins. So you would assume that at some point they're going to sign a nose tackle, whether that's early or late. They haven't replaced Roy Robertson Harris. So are they going to sign another defensive lineman? It's a good draft for that with the depth.
Come on, say it like you're supposed to say it.
I want you to do it, because
no, but I want you to do it in a British accent.
Roy Robertson has.
Hey, Roy Robertson has. See, it's good. You're wonderful at it. It's perfect.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be when I started doing it. But yeah, here's the other thing is, when you actually, I'm sort of reading a few different things and you speak to different people, and it does feel a little bit like the depth on the defensive line. Teams might think about that, and what we might actually see in this first round, this won't be a surprise next week, is if we see a whole bunch of offensive linemen go early, because teams think, well, we have to take an offensive lineman early because they will go, and the options aren't great. But we can get a defensive lineman in round 2. And therefore, if you actually look, I haven't got the numbers to hand, but John Schneider's drafts, I know we all sort of talk about the trenches with John, but he has more often than not gone either O-line or D-line first, or O-line and D-line with the first 2 picks.
100%, but it just hasn't worked. That's the I guess frustrating and mind-boggling thing.
But that, and they have said that's the kind of team they want to be. So, you kind of come full circle to where the conversation, I mean, this is how long the draft process is. If we'd have had this conversation in January, this is what we'd have been saying. They want to be a trenches team. It wouldn't be a surprise if their first pick is, look, we need an offensive lineman. Okay, it's Zabel. Okay, it's Booker. And then in the second round, we need a defensive lineman, right? Maybe they move up for a Kenneth Grant or a Tyleek Williams, or maybe they just, they moved up for Jaron Reed in round 2. Maybe they think there's somebody like that here they can go up and go and get. And, the first 2 picks, O-line, D-line, and everybody's like, yeah, fair enough.
In his audience, in his latest mock draft that it's up there right now, and again, if you want to get caught up on the draft, all right, I believe we've got the 3 greatest people in draft coverage. All right, we got it's an arsenal what we've got here with Rob, Seahawks Draft Blog.
It's not an arse.
Yeah, not an arse, an arsenal. I mean, listen, all of his coverage up here. He's got his interview up there with Tony Pauline. He's got his latest mock draft, which in his latest mock draft that's up there right now at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He's got the Seahawks trading up with Chicago at number 10 to take Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. They give up pick 82 and 137 and a 2026 fourth rounder as well. So here's what I want people to do. I want our audience to digest everything at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. You got live streams up there. You got the written word up there. You got everything. Once you do that, then you hop over to Dane Brugler with The Athletic. You get caught up on the Beast, and then you can check out Danny Kelly at The Ringer as well. But listen, no one's got this stable of horses like you 3. It's like a wire-to-wire finish with all 3 of you. But the amount of time and effort you put in, Rob, I've told you this many times before. It's breathtaking, honestly, of how much time you put in there. All right, so we get into this. Yeah, go ahead.
You would like the next 2 picks as well, because I had them taking
I do.
A guard and a center in round 2.
I love it. What do they do at 50?
It was Tate Ratledge and Jared Wilson with the 2 picks. So
both out of Georgia. The Ratledge
guard and a center.
Yeah. I love you. I think you and what I really think you did is you made that mock draft for me.
I think a lot of people gave that their roar of approval compared to some of the others I've done. So it was good to see.
Well, I don't know much about Ratledge, so give me the breakdown of him.
It's just like Will Fry's, in terms of the body. The body type's the same. His explosive testing is almost identical. He's physical. His tape's not the same as Fry's. Fry's did show better as a zone blocker at Indianapolis than Ratledge did at Georgia. But, he's quicker. He's agile. He's explosive. He's the kind of player that you could coach into that system. So I think there's a chance that, look, we missed out on Will Fry's. It doesn't matter. We've kind of got this younger, cheaper version here, and that might be what they go with.
Okay. And quick thoughts on the kid at 52, Jared Wilson, the center.
Almost exactly the same measurables and testing as Eric McCoy, who's the Saints center, who did ever so well under Clint Kubiak. His tape was better than McCoy's was at Texas A&M coming into the league. So can he develop into McCoy? Yes. Could even be better? Yes. He's very well liked. They had him in for an official 30 visit recently. So there's obviously a bit of interest there. I reckon they got him in there to test his protections and what he knows about scheming and stuff like that, because they're going to put a lot of responsibility on his shoulders if they draft him. So, but I think they got him in for that reason. It shows, I think, that they are interested in him. I tell you what, I would not hate it. There'd be no protest from me if they took Gray, Zabel, Wilson, and Ratledge and called it a job done. After the first 2 rounds, and really repaired that interior line. I don't think they're going to do that. But if they took Zabel and Ratledge or Zabel and Wilson, as 2 of the first 3 picks, I'd have absolutely no issue with that. So we only have to wait 8 more days to find out what they're going to do.
Rest up. We'll do it again next week, and then we'll preview what you got cooking there on Thursday. But it's almost here. Rob, always appreciate the time. Thanks for always doing it. Appreciate it.
No problem.
There he is, Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. His weekly appearance all brought to you by Superior Linen Service. Family owned and operated since 1926. They are committed to delivering the highest quality products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. Give them a call, 253-383-2636. And also follow them on their website, suplinen.com. All right, abbreviated show today, as we've been doing all week long, because I got to go drive and pick up the vampire from baseball camp. And a reminder, no show tomorrow and Friday, back with full slate of shows coming up next week. We're finishing off the last few days here of spring break. All right, let's wrap it up here quickly with Hey, What the Puck. And Hey, What the Puck brought to you by one of our longtime great sponsors, Restoration One. Your restoration company, of course, lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. By the way, there's a local restaurant, kind of restaurant cafe type play. I don't know how to describe it. It's a cafe, not really a cafe, but it's like a lunch spot, like a lunch spot, market spot, like a grocery store spot. I'm butchering how to promote Take 5. Take 5 is an institution that's in Ballard. It's right off 8th Avenue, if anyone knows about it. It had a horrific gas explosion last year. Restoration One was the company that went in there and repaired everything, restored it. It just recently opened up. So if you want to go support local, which is a great spot, by the way, for sandwiches, little grocery items, but great sandwiches and food, homemade, prepared, Take 5 there in Ballard. If you go there, get the Reuben. Magnifique. All thanks to Restoration One that those folks are back up and working and operating. It was a long journey for them. So big thanks to those guys. All right. Here's Hey, What the Puck. There was an article written today by Tim Booth, Seattle Times, and Todd Leiweke, Kraken CEO, talked to a lot of the media yesterday just about what they're going to do moving forward next season. Ron Francis is back. Listen, I'm going to let the people that follow it closer than I do about the Kraken talk about whether or not Ron Francis should be back. I'll take the 30,000 feet view and go, what has he actually accomplished? I mean, how long do you give a GM to accomplish something? Maybe give him another year. I don't know, but they really haven't gotten any better. They are not a particularly, listen, I tune into the games. I went to the game last Saturday, and I'll say this about them. They're not a particularly fun group to watch. They're not exciting. And I think that's the problem with them. They don't have exciting players. And the guys that they've drafted high just haven't really delivered. Matty Benier is not an exciting player to watch. He's not. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but he's not exciting to watch. There's no excitement with them. There's not a real buzz in there. At least there wasn't on Saturday until late in the third period. But Tim Booth wrote about this. They're lowering ticket prices. They're going to try to make capping season ticket prices, making it more affordable. They got a real problem on their hands. They really, really do. That it's an expensive ticket and an expensive evening there. And I'm not saying that with the Sonics come back that it's not going to be expensive too. It will be. But when you pay for the whole building yourself and you're going to and you don't get any money from your TV and your media rights deal, you put that cost back on consumers. And I'm just telling you that it is not, they have priced people out a lot there. And there was a big push, I remember when they had season tickets, they were going to be real kid friendly. I'll just say this honestly. I think it is not kid friendly. It is a poor experience for kids. It is not built for kids, that whole environment there. It's just not. There's nothing kid friendly there to eat. Number one. I mean, every time we go to Dick's and bring them in. Hide them and bring them in. I'll be honest with you. I bring airplane bottles in because I don't want to sit there and buy drinks there. It's just too expensive. Kids don't want Din Tai Fung. Kids want cheap chicken tenders and pizza and hot dogs. That's what they want. They got to really think through who they're trying to get there to watch games. Because I'll go there, and what I notice, and this is just me, what I notice, and I'm no hockey aficionado, obviously. I think that's well established. And I'm not saying there's not these people there. I think there's very, very, very few really hockey-centric people that go there. I don't think the experience of going there is built for the hockey aficionado. I think those people go to Silvertips. I think those people go to the Thunderbirds. I think this is built for it's the Kraken Climate Pledge experience. That's what I think it's built for. But, listen, this crowd, this city will support a winner, but they got to start winning. But these prices from the parking, the tickets, people, I know all of the people that I know in my neighborhood that have season tickets, sold them all, got out once they could get out. That's a real issue. They would try to resell the tickets. It would take a bath on them. So from a business standpoint and a standpoint on the ice, they got some real problems. And they better get it fixed fast, because if and when the NBA comes back, when I say they're going to be on the back burner, there isn't even a burner that's close to where that team and that organization will be once the NBA returns. And they better figure it out real fast. All right, that's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Again, your restoration company. They're going to take care of you. Give them a call, 206-817-8917. Visit them online, restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. That's it for us today. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you to all the sponsors, Limbeck Lumber, Superior Linen Service, Chalet Bowl, Georgetown Brewery. Check out their new Tavern Beer, please. And, of course, Restoration One. Today's Daily Punch Up on YouTube. Please subscribe. I'm trying to go too fast. Get out of here. Please subscribe to the channel. Also find the Daily Punch Up on your favorite podcast platforms, and, of course, at pucksports.com. When you're there, sign up to be a member of the Puck Posse. $5 a month is all it costs you. Support all the free content and the VIP and exclusive content we do as well, like our MLB Insider Ryan Divish, Sports Pit with KJR alum Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson, our NFL draft coverage with Dane Brugler of The Athletic, and now Puck Sports produces the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast. You can find that on YouTube and all podcast platforms, and, of course, up at pucksports.com. We will see you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your spring break. We'll talk to you then. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!